Yesterday we discussed the free methods of promoting your website. Now obviously we didn't go through all of them, as there's so many it'll be impossible to discuss them all, but we covered some of the main ones and the most effective ones. Today we're going to talk about paid promotion methods. These are methods where you can still promote your website, but it's going to cost you to do so. The advantage with some of these methods, and we'll discuss those as we go through, is that you pretty much get instant on traffic. The free methods can take a little while for you to start getting traffic, but the paid methods pretty much instantly, as soon as you finish setting up, you'll start getting traffic with it. If not, then within an hour or so. It's very, very quick. So if you've got the money, then this is a great way to instantly drive traffic to your website. Now there's plenty of places you can pay for advertising. We're going to talk about some of the main ones, mention a few others, but there's lots and lots of other ones that we just haven't covered here because again, there's many different ways of doing this. But if you're paying for advertising, the most important thing you can do is to track your traffic. You need to know which adverts are working and which ones are not. The ones that are not working, you need to either drop or improve. Some people, when they start tracking their traffic, are shocked to find out that adverts they're paying a lot of money for are underperforming compared to some of the cheaper adverts. And you have no idea whether that $5,000 advert is doing better or worse than your $2 classified ad unless you track your traffic. So it's very, very important that you use some form of traffic tracking in order to determine which ones are working and which ones are working best. Now the first method, and this is one we'll talk about quite a bit in this video, is called pay-per-click. And this is where basically you pay for every click on your advert. Every time someone sees your advert and clicks on it, you get charged a sum of money. How much it is depends upon the network, it depends upon the competitiveness of the keyword. Now, so this means that your advert could be displayed on the site 1,000 times, but if only one person clicks on it, you're only going to get charged that one click. So pay-per-click is quite cost efficient, and typically people who click on adverts are people who are fairly committed buyers. They're very interested, so you can get quite a good conversion rate from them. The downside is, as you'll find out, is it could cost you quite a lot of money unless you set it up right. The next method is pay-per-view. This is where you pay a sum of money, a small fee, for every time your advert's displayed, regardless of whether someone clicks on it or not. We'll discuss this one in more depth in a little while as well. There's also social networking advertising, and again we'll talk about that. That's where you put adverts on social networks. That is a very, very good way to target a very tightly focused demographic. Many of the social networks will allow you to advertise to people even with specific interests, so you can get highly targeted advertising from this. Another method that we're not going to go into detail today is e-zine adverts. You can advertise your product in other people's e-zines. Many of the big and popular newsletters will take paid adverts. They will charge you a sum of money depending upon how big they are, how responsive their readers are. It varies. I can't give you any figures, unfortunately. It depends upon the adverts. It could be anything from sort of $10, $20, $30 up to several hundred for one of the bigger newsletters. But those could be very worthwhile. Again, if you can find a decent e-zine in your niche with a good conversion rate, good readership, then excellent. You could do very well promoting to it. The other one, of course, is again a good favourite, is website adverts. You can advertise on other people's websites. Many people with high traffic and successful sites will sell advertising space on them. Now obviously the more successful their site is, the more they'll charge, but it's a good way to get traffic to your website. And of course there's other methods on top of this. We haven't even talked about offline advertising, small ads in newspapers, the boards in your supermarkets and grocery stores. You can advertise on those, classified adverts, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of things you could do with advertising, but we're going to concentrate on 3 of the main forms today. Now with pay-per-click, you pay for every click on your advert, whether or not it converts. So if someone just clicks on your advert, stays there for 2 seconds and says, nah, this isn't for me, and goes away, you've just been charged. So it's in your best interest to make sure that people stay and convert at the best possible rate, because of course you're paying for every single click. So every time someone comes there through that, it's costing you money. So you do need to be aware of that. You do have to keep very tight control on your pay-per-click budget. It's not been unknown for people to lose a lot of money because they haven't set a daily budget, they haven't paid attention to their conversion rates, and they pretty much just let the system run, and then they've turned around and realized that Google or whoever have charged them thousands of dollars for the pleasure. So you do need to keep a control of this. Don't let that frighten you off. This is very, very powerful, but you do realize you do have to control this. The people I know who are very good with pay-per-click spend an hour or sometimes more a day just checking their campaigns, adjusting them, tweaking them, and sort of improving their efficiency. So you've got to track it, because otherwise it can get quite expensive. The best known is Google AdWords, but there are others. There's Yahoo, Bing, or Microsoft as it may be known, and there's others as well. There's lots of less well known pay-per-click networks. The smaller networks are typically cheaper for the competitive keywords. So if you went into AdWords for weight loss, you could expect to pay a lot of money per click. But you go to Yahoo, Bing, or even one of the smaller networks, you're going to find your keywords like weight loss an awful lot cheaper. The reason being there's less traffic. However, the traffic still converts and there is still traffic. So if you're on a tight budget, you may want to look at a smaller network first. Now, AdWords has two networks. They have what we call the content and the search network. The content network is basically AdSense on people's websites. So if you have an AdSense site with AdSense ads on it, that's part of the content network. The content network is typically worth less to advertisers because there is click fraud, there is a lower conversion rate from the content network. However, doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. What it does mean is when you're setting up your pay-per-click campaign on AdWords is set a lower bid for the keywords on the content network, significantly lower, simply because you don't want to get charged a fortune for your ads being displayed on people's sites and then the site owners obviously earning at your expense every time someone clicks on it. You can actually put the prices down really, really low, and even competitive keywords you can get for, you know, ridiculously cheap prices on the content network. The search network is the search result. So when you do a search for something, the sponsored ads that appear, that's a search network. As I said, there is a significant difference in the cost of them. The search network is much more competitive because obviously people who are typing in keywords and searching for information are more in a buying frame of mind than people who have ended up on an AdSense site. So just make sure you pay a lot less for the content network, otherwise you may end up finding yourself losing money. Ensure that your landing page is highly relevant to your keywords in order to get the lowest possible cost. You do have to pay attention to this. Google does something called a quality score. Exactly how they work it out is a little bit of a mystery because, as you can well imagine, Google doesn't advertise this. What they do, you have hints and you have some vague information, and people have worked out some of what contributes to it. But one of the things that contributes to it is the page you send your pay-per-click advert to. If it isn't targeted to the keywords, then you're going to find that your cost per click is going to go up. If the keyword is, if the landing page, the site that your pay-per-click ad goes to, is optimized for the keyword that you're pointing it to in the pay-per-click campaign, then you're going to find that your cost per click is going to actually be reduced, and in some cases it can be reduced significantly. So if you're actually serious about using pay-per-click, you may want to end up creating multiple sites on your website, each optimized for a different keyword. What you do with pay-per-click is test two adverts against each other. You have to make sure that you're always doing this to see what's performing better, which one's best, which one's not. Silly things like capitalizing an advert, that could make a big difference, capitalizing the first few letters. What happens if you put the price in there? What happens if you change some of the text? Test two different adverts, see which is the best. The best one stays, and then you put a new one in and start the testing again. And that way you're constantly improving your click-through rate. Obviously that's very, very important. The higher your click-through rate, again, the lower your cost will be. Google does tend to penalize people with low click-through rates. And so if you continually work to improve your click-through rate and your conversion rate, then you can start to bring down some of your advertising costs. And in the case of some of the competitive keywords, this can actually be a significant reduction, which you won't be sorry about. So it is actually worth doing the work. Yes, it may sound like it's a little bit of work for you to do, but just do it and you'll find that your advertising costs go down, which means your profit goes up. Okay, now this is Google AdWords. If you're going to use this, you need to have a Google Mail account. You can set one up free, and then you need to go to the AdWords site and set it up to work with AdWords. It can be a little bit difficult, shall we say. I've just set up a new account to show you exactly what you'll see, and I had all sorts of fun with the AdWords account setup. So there are possibly some issues there, but you should be okay. If you go through and create it, you'll get to a page that looks like this. What I want to show you is very quickly how to set up a campaign. Now, before you set up a campaign, you need to have an idea of your keywords. You need to have your website set up. You need to have your domain name that you're going to use as well. Now, you can use this to go straight to an affiliate site if you want to, so you can do direct linking with AdWords. So what we want to do is we want to click this lovely button here that says create your first campaign. So as we're creating a new campaign, what you need to do is you need to put the campaign name here. This campaign name obviously needs to be something that is meaningful to you. So you may want to include something to do with the keywords or the product or something else. You can choose here the countries, so you can go for everywhere, just a specific country, or you can select one or more other locations. We'll go for all countries and territories. What I would recommend is if you're specifically targeting certain niches, it may be better. Quite often what I'll do is if I click on this, you'll see the options you get. So you can see here you can select bundles or specific countries. So you can see the different areas here. So let's select Western Europe. And let's select North America. And then when you're done, you just click here and save your changes. Then what you can do here is you can target specific languages. We're just going to target English for now, but depending on what you're advertising, you may want to do that. We want to look at the demographics as well. So you can change the demographics on certain sites. And you can see here you can choose to exclude certain ages, a male or female. These aren't overly accurate. I mean, they're reasonably accurate, but Google takes this from a site, so it can and cannot be totally accurate. So you can choose to exclude some of these if you want to, and then just click done when you're done. So we'll just click done now.